Hi, all are doing all right. I am Ujwal Subhash. I will be talking about the analysis I have made for the top 10 banks in the UK regarding their past 10 years performance metrics. This was completely curated on the basis of the financial documents and journals of the particular banks from their publicly available journals and datas. To understand in depth, I've used FAME to derive mathematical and correlative analysis. These data are the accurate as available. Moving on the executive summary, the purpose of this analysis is to go beyond surface level data and uncover deeper patterns and interconnections within the banking sector. More in depth, I found out how strategically these banking giants have used their decision making to stay in the curve. I gathered data as I told before from FAME and financial reports of the 10 banks that leads this curve. I processed this data in Excel and used SPSS in very minor areas as I am more versed in Excel in formulating and conditioning. These results, which was interpreted, is what the entire slide explains. I'll dive deeper into this while I am halfway through the presentation. Following a conclusion, my recommendations and some challenges which the bank can hurdle over if they add some key changes. Moving to the next slide, as the title itself explanatory, the UK's bloodline is the banking and finance sector, grossing 65% of the entire gross of the country. Many factors has affected it over past decade, including the Brexit and COVID-19. Technological advancement has reshaped this sector and has credibly increased customer experience. The last regulatory framework after the market crash of 2008 has also made some compliance changes to the and change policies. Digital transformation of industries and commerce has yielded a boost in operations and also streamlined supply chains. Moving to the next slide, as we all know, business analytics is in any functioning business is a crucial area to forecast and draft decisions. It has helped banks to boost digital processes and obviously elevated and inclined due to forecasting the early adaptation of digital banking. Streamlined operations was derived by knowing banks need shorter supply chains and wider options to stay ahead in sustainability. Also, analysis has helped the banks to adapt new models of business and strategies, which is an added benefit to the economies of scale. Moving to the next slide, let's look into the clean data set of the bank derived from the FAME dataset are 8 variables of 10 banks over the decade. I have used both descriptive and productive analysis on the contrary to derive the needed assets. These variables are totally assets, profit before taxation, net income, total equity, and return on equity, Tier 1 capital ratio, and employee count. This is the total growth of the sector in the past 10 years. The blue line shows the steady growth averaging 3.2% annually, resulting in approximately 37% cumulative growth over a decade. The orange line displays the volatility with notable dips during Brexit uncertainty and the COVID-19 pandemic, followed by the recovery in recent years. Green line illustrates the improving cost to income ratios with a gradual downward trend representing an 8.3 percent point reduction over the decade. And the red line shows the steep decline of physical branches with the 32 percentage reduction over the decade, accelerating after the pandemic. Purple line represents the overall declining trends in employment, reflecting the divergent patterns between traditional banks and digital institutions. Moving to the next slide. Here, I'm going to talk about the mean, which is the average of the sum of the values of the variables. Median gives the average of the entire data set, and standard deviation shows the cumulative differences of the percentage of change, whereas maximum is the largest value and minimum is being the lowest. This descriptive analysis is the phase of a calculation of variables by taking down 8 variables, which are total assets, profit before taxation, net income, total equity, return on equity, Tier 1 capital ratio, and employee count. I have used the individual analysis because my ease of access is in this. By looking at the figures, we can understand the mean, median, standard deviation, maximum, and minimum of all of the variables. Since there is no repeated values in this case, mod is voided. The key status is the profit before tax has a nominal deviation comparatively shows a positive sign of the sector. Net income shows the ideality of the sector since the paying customers are more and sustainable. Total equity shows the market capital, showing the market size. Cost to income shows the available supply and demand of the sector. Moving to the next slide. The correlation analysis. It is an analysis with profit as the most apt correlation with the cash flow. These, like, there are 3 steps involved in finding the correlation. The first is to add up in the x-axis values to find sum of profits, add up all the y-axis values to find the sum of the cost of income, and multiply each value with its corresponding value to find sum of the cost divided by the profit. As I mentioned in the last slide, this is the linear regression of the value in the x and y axis. 10 banks and also the regressive percentage of the 8 variables. A stable, steady run in the profit and income shows the positive future of the banking sector, whereas all other variables are either relatively subtle or constant. So here are my recommendations. My recommendation is to boost the cost income ratios by entire digitalization and streamlining of the supply chain. Risk management technology will be a pioneer in the coming days for the sustainability and longevity of the sector. Diversifying revenue streams by adding 5 or more services to consumers to boost competitive advantages for each bank is recommended. Data is the new oil, and these banks have a huge potential to convert these features to existing the future customers. So here I'm concluding the topic, and the profit is the main motive of any organization, and this sector is no different from uh, other sectors. Digitalizations and efficiency is a key testament that any stakeholders will look forward. With added changes in the economic, banks should focus more on sustainability than growth for the next few laps of economic deviation. Workforce management is a key for sustainability with ample amount of capital maintenance. So these are the references which I have done my assignment. Thanks, and please feel free to refer the Excel sheet for the supporting clauses for the mathematical data and raw data set. Thank you.